Starting from a blank page, I like to get going pretty fast. And I found that despite issues of control that I've always had, I'm actually getting to really like doing these fast watercolor alla prima portraits. And one of the things that I've noticed is that it's not a question of having a sharp tip to your brush. And it's not a question of having a thin brush. I used to, when I was doing acrylics, I used to be very concerned with having control over the tip, of the brush. And so I would try to go for those tiny, thin brushes for details. And I'm not doing that anymore. I'm actually finding that a lot of times it's the bigger brush that gives me more control or more of a feeling that I am controlling the situation when I'm working with watercolors, because the water spills so much that what you need is a tip that won't bend, that if you do kind of press it a tiny bit against the paper, it's not going to give way. And a lot of times that's the bigger brush. I can count on the bigger brush to maintain its shape long enough for me to make a mark where I want that mark. So what I like about the watercolor, the way I apply it with these brushes, is that I can get an image that is blurry and yet seems real, seems true to reality. And I think I got that, especially with the mother in the mother-daughter group. I kind of had a little bit of an accident of applying too much paint with the daughter, or not really too much paint, but too much water, and that's where the mouth kind of didn't do what I wanted it to do. But on the mother image, it is kind of blurry, but in a way that seems realistic. And so I really like how that turned out. And I'm going to continue with my experiment. And if you are experimenting with this kind of watercolor portrait in real time, let me know how that's turning out for you. Notice here when I add a little bit too much water, sometimes it drips down, and in the case of the hair, the dripping water actually creates strands of hair that seem more realistic than if I were to very meticulously apply the paint. Can you see all those drips? I love the streaking that they leave behind. And that's one of the joys of doing a watercolor alla prima portrait. It's almost inky, the way that dark hair just drips down the woman's shoulder and onto her blouse. So there you have it, mother